All right. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started with today's class. My name's Eric. Today is March 23rd, 2023. And today we're going to be training on doing a big review on Microsoft Excel. We've been in Microsoft Excel now for about the last month. And so I wanted to take some time to do a review today. So we'll be reviewing a lot of things. This will be a really good video if you're watching this on YouTube for you to go back and review at your own time, be able to pause it, and pick up some of the tips and tricks that we've been teaching over the last month here at Mission Africa for digital navigation training. So I'll go ahead and get going and hope you enjoy. So I'm just going to go down the checklist for anybody who may be taking a North Star assessment on this material. This will help prepare you for the North Star assessment on Microsoft Excel. All right, so the first thing I'm going to cover is just how do you even open up Microsoft Excel. As you can see down here, there's this Microsoft Excel button. Let me go ahead and pull this over here. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and pull a spreadsheet over to the desktop here. I'm going to paste it and let's see what that does. So here we have a spreadsheet. So to open up a spreadsheet or to even open Microsoft Excel, if you just have a blank desktop like this and you want to open up Microsoft Excel, there's a couple ways to do it. One of the first ways to do it is you can just click the button. If you have Microsoft Excel in your taskbar here at the bottom, you could click the green button that has the X, that's Microsoft Excel. You could also go here to the start, which is the four squares in the bottom left corner. If you're on a Windows computer, you could click that and you might see Excel there. Or the easiest way, if you have Microsoft Excel on your desktop or you have an Excel file on your desktop, you could just simply double click that file and it will open up Microsoft Excel. And so I'm just going to bring that on over. So I double clicked this and went ahead and opened up Microsoft Excel. Just to highlight parts of the window that we're looking at right now, here, this is of course our Microsoft Excel window. Now in Excel, you can have multiple workbooks. So we are on the tab or the spreadsheet, or you can call it a tab for watches right now. In Excel, you can have multiple tabs. So if I click this plus button here, you see that if I put my mouse over it, it says new sheet. So if I use my left click and I hit this plus button here, I'm going to add a tab. And now you have a nice brand new tab, clean worksheet, no formatting, it's ready to go. But we can always switch back over to the tab for watches here, where we have a spreadsheet with, I think this one has 3,000 lines of data in it or so. Yep, almost 4,000 lines of data in it. So we have a new one here. We can add multiple tabs. If you'd like to change the color of the tab, you can right click instead of left click, you can right click, go to tab color. We can go to blue. Let's say I just want to go ahead and make all of these different colors. I'm just going to right click each one and give them some different colors here. Let's do a red one maybe. So now we have our different colors here. If you would like to also rename it so that it makes a little bit more sense. So we can call this one change. We can call this one, I'm going to just right clicking again on the tab name and renaming. And let's call this one budget. Let's see, why don't we go ahead and click this one. We'll right click this one. And again, I'm going to rename and I'm going to call this one, I don't know, timesheet. Let's say you were keeping some kind of track of a timesheet. And if you want to delete a tab, I can go here to tab 2, right click again, it pulls up this menu. And here's all the things you can do, right? You can insert a new tab, you can delete this one, rename it, you can move it, you can protect it. Protecting a tab means you can put a password on it so that no one can change it. So if you have maybe a bunch of raw data and you don't want anyone to change it, you can protect it by putting a password on it. Right now, let's just go ahead and delete tab 2. So we've determined we don't need that one. And so that is tabs down there. Again, you can have quite a few of these tabs at the bottom. It's really nice because let's say you have a budget for each year in your family, you have a family budget or a business budget, you can have 2021, 2023, etc., but you can keep it all in one big file. As far as just continuing to go through like our window and what we're looking at here, another thing you can do here up top, this is called our quick access toolbar, this top bar at the top. So you can always hit save here. Notice that as I move around in the different tabs and the different menus, the ribbon here changes. This is the ribbon where all of these icons are. Notice if I go to page layout, the icons in the ribbon change. If I go to insert, the icons in the ribbon change. If I go to home, the icons in the ribbon change. But note that the quick access toolbar here at the top always stays the same. And so you have a save button here. You have a minimize button. Pull that back up. You have a button to maximize, so check up the whole screen. Or you have a button here all the way in the far right, top right corner. You always can use the X button to close. Now, if you've made any edits to your spreadsheet since the last time you saved, it will ask you, do you want to save? So let's hit X. And so it looks like I had already saved. And so that's the easiest way to close out your spreadsheet, is to just use this X here. Okay. So here again, we have our menus. And then as you change tab or the menu, we can use those words interchangeably here, you will get a different ribbon. And then of course here we have buttons, and all these buttons have different things that they'll do for you. So let's go take a look around. And again, this is today's lesson is going to be a review for the North Star assessment for Microsoft Excel. So we'll be covering quite a bit, and then we'll finish up with talking about how to print. We covered that last time. I want to cover it one more time, a little bit more in detail, because that is definitely a very important skill that you want to have in Microsoft Excel. Because if you can't print, you know, it's good to have a spreadsheet, but sometimes you just need to print that spreadsheet. So we'll go over that at the end of class today. Like also under the ribbon, you have a bar here where you see DA, you see FX, and then there's this big white bar. As you can see, as I put my mouse over it, it says formula bar. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you there. Go to 200. You can see there, it says this is the formula bar right here where you have that information. And then here, this is the name box. This tells you what current cell you are at. So if I clicked A1 right here, just the first cell, right? Because this is our column, this is our row. So when we come here, we know that this is our active cell. There's two ways that we know. We know because it has the green box around it, which tells us that's our active cell. And then also here in the name box, again, just to the left of the formula bar, it says A1 here. So that's telling you that your active cell currently is A1. Okay. Here you can see I can select rows. So if you ever want to select a range of things, you would just click on the first, hold down your left click, and you just go on down. When you let go, then you can hit, let's say we wanted to bold all of those, you hit B, and it'll bold everything that you have selected. Now, if you didn't like that and you want to undo it, you can always come back here to the undo button, and it will undo whatever the last activity or the last command was that you gave Microsoft Excel. So in this case, let's say we wanted to hit undo both, you just hit the back button right there, and notice that it undoes it. So again, just select the range. Normally, I go from top down, and if I also need to go to the right, I'll go top, down, and then to the right to select my range. And then let's say I wanted to make all of that a red font. There you go. So again, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to go ahead and undo that font. And then it goes backwards. So there you go. So that's just a couple of little quick things. I know on the assessment, it may say, hey, you know, if your mouse is here, please tell me what cell you're in. And you can always look up here and you can see that you're in B5 or wherever your active cell is at the time. We already covered a new sheet, new naming sheet. You know how to write in a sheet. Of course, we already know how to write into a sheet, right? If you just go, you just quick new worksheet here. So again, if you wanted to just type into this A1 here, you would just select A1, and then you can just start typing. Say hi, and then you hit enter. When you hit enter, it will always go down to the next row. There, hit enter on the keyboard, and it'll say hello, and hit enter again. So as you hit enter, it will continue to go down. If you want to navigate through your spreadsheet from left to right, you can actually use the tab keys on your keyboard. Tab is to the left of the Q on your keyboard. So if you hit tab, notice that my active cell moves to the right. If I want to go back to the left, I can hold down shift. So hold down shift, and while holding down shift, hit the tab button, and it'll go backwards. Okay, so that's an easy way to navigate if you just want to be a little bit quicker and don't want to always have to go back and forth to the mouse. You can use your tab buttons there. You can use shift tab to go backwards. Okay. All right, so just again to discuss how to make something bold. To make something bold, you would again make your selection by left clicking rather, and putting down the left click button. Select the things that you want to make bold, and then hit this B button up here in the top in the ribbon. You have a button there. You zoom in again. This button here, when you click it, it will make whatever text you have selected bold. If you click this button, it'll make it italic. So it'll kind of make it a slanted format. Usually we see things in italics that are quotes normally. And then over here to the far right, we have the underline button where you can underline something. So let's just, in this case, go ahead and do bold. Again, you can see how it makes everything that I've selected bold. If we click B again, it undoes it, right? So it'll kind of toggle it. Same thing with italics. As we click it, it will toggle that. And then let's look at underline. If you click that, it'll make it underline, make it not underline. Let's say we wanted to increase the font. Here in the ribbon, you have a button that says increase font. You can click that to increase font. You can decrease font, or we can actually select the drop down here and we can move our font. As you see, as I select 16, 18, notice that the selection or the words in the selection get bigger. Or you can go down. We can also change the font color right here. So let's again select, I just selected the little drop down menu to the right. So if I wanted red, I could just click the button. But let's say I wanted it in blue. To get blue, you have to just click this little drop down button to the right of the A with the color under it. And then I can select any of these colors from the palette. You can even do more colors, and it'll give you just a rainbow, a honeycomb of colors here. So I'm just going to do, you know, like a light blue, something like that. Okay. And then lastly, if you want to fill, meaning that you wanted to put some color in the background, like we see up here with the yellow, we would just come and again, select your range by clicking and holding. And then we would simply come here again. If I wanted just yellow, I could go ahead and click the paint bucket. It's going to give me a background color of yellow. If I wanted something else, let's say I wanted black. There you go. I can just click black. And now we have our black and we have our blue. I'm going to go ahead and undo those just to keep everything working. All right. All right. Look, what else can we do in here? And again, this is very similar to Microsoft Word. So if you've worked in Microsoft Word with us and attended some of those lessons, a lot of this is going to look very familiar to you. Also, you can center or left align your items. So these are left aligned, as you see. Everything is written, and it's all the words start on the far left of the cell. So these are left aligned. You could also center. So then it makes it centered in the cell, or you could do right align. Normally, we'll just stick with whatever the default is. In this case, just left align. Okay. All right. I'm just looking at my notes to make sure I'm covering everything here. Let's go ahead and work on centering. So I'm just when I do that, when you guys see me scroll in like that, I'm holding down control and I'm scrolling towards my computer. So I'm scrolling away from myself. And when I do that, it's the shortcut for zooming in. So as we know, you can also use your zoom out here at the bottom. You can see right now I'm at 295% of this. Now you can break out a little bit. So anytime you're in Microsoft Excel, you can zoom in and out using this buttons here in the bottom right. So I can zoom out. Notice it's 220, 200. Notice that as I keep scrolling, and then I can continue to zoom in. So let's get back to there. So again, so we are here. Let's make sure we are looking at our whole entire table. So I'm just going to zoom out. Now I'm going to actually insert a row above row one. To insert a row above row one, you can just simply click on row one over here. So not here, but actually click where it says row one, right click, and it brings up a menu. You can cut this row out. You can copy this row. We can insert a row. That's what we're going to do. You can delete this row. We could format it. There's a couple different things, right? But we want to insert. So I'm going to go ahead and select insert. And notice that it just inserts that row above. So now what was row one is now row two. So I'm just going to say title bar. And I want this to be stretched across this entire table, all of the columns, because I want to put in a nice big label so that when I look at this or I print this out, I know exactly what I'm looking at. So to do that, you want this title bar to come all the way across here. You want it to be centered and you want to make it really nice and big. So to do that, you would click where the title or the content is that you want to stretch across. Normally, you want to put it in the far left cell. And here we are, then we stretch it across. And then we come up here to the top menu, and there's a button here for merge and centering. This button just right here. And when you click that, I'm just going to zoom back out real quick so you can see it. When you click that button, notice that it merges title bar right in the middle. And now we just want to make it a little bigger. So I'm just going to increase the font. I'm going to give it a background color. My font color is black and my background is black, which is why my words went away. That will happen every now and again. So let's actually make the words white in this case. I think that looks pretty nice actually, right? So you have nice big black background. White is your text color in this case. And we've merged the title bar to go all the way across everything so that it's a nice title bar for anytime we may want to print or do something else with this particular spreadsheet. If you want to change items from currency to number, again, we just select our range. You can hear there's a button that says currency. You can always click that. These are already in currency. One nice thing about Microsoft Excel is it has many different versions of currency. Here we can see it has English, it has UK, it has Euro, Chinese yen, Switzerland. It has all types of different currencies that you can select. So if you don't see it in this menu, you can hit more accounting. You can come here to symbol, and it's got Russian, Kazakhstan, Georgian, just everything you can ever imagine as far as the currency. So lots of fun that you can have in there. But let's say you just wanted, let's say you wanted this discount over here to have a decimal point, right? Maybe you want to do the whole column. So instead of just having 31, you wanted to see 31.0 or 31.2%, so forth. So if you want to format an entire column, because in this case, this spreadsheet has 3,000 lines. So you'd have to scroll down. I'm at 600, 900, 1,000. You see how much time this can take, 30 seconds, sometimes longer if you have more lines, but it's taken me quite a bit to do this entire selection. So okay, I finally got the entire selection. And then I can come up here to a button in the top menu under General. And you see this button here says Increase Decimal. So I'm going to click that and see that it adds a decimal. So now we have 30.0, 0.0, and so forth. And that's good, but notice that it took me a while to do that because I had to wait to select everything. So a faster way, if you want to just format an entire column, would be to select the column by clicking the column header all the way at the top where the letter is. So the letters will go from A to Z, and then they will go to AA, AB, AC, and so forth. So in this case, let's just click E. Notice that it selects the entire column, and then we can simply do our function there. It doesn't like it. So in this case, we would have to do it. Didn't like it for some reason. It was giving me a little bit of a bounce back there. Let's try it again. Yep, doesn't like it. So we would just have to select everything like we did previously. The further you move your mouse down, the faster it'll go. Let's go do that really quick. Again, 3,900 lines in this case. Okay. So now we've got our decimal points added in there. So we're good to go on that. We've done some merge and center. We've entered some data. The next thing we want to do, and we've actually already done it in this spreadsheet. Notice that as I scroll up and down, I'm on row 2,657, but then it goes to row 2 and 1. How did it do that? That's because we froze the top couple rows 1 and 2. And you may not see it, but there's a strong line here under row 2. You might see it a little bit over here, which is telling us that we have frozen everything above row 3, right? So you see this line over here, it kind of extends all the way out. That's what that means. So just to review how to freeze panes, I'm going to go ahead and unfreeze. So I went to the view menu. We're going to do freeze and unfreeze, and notice that that line goes away. So now if I scroll down, notice that my titles go away. We don't want that. We want to be able to see our titles when we scroll down. This is a very common problem that folks have. So again, to freeze panes, everything above where I have selected is going to be frozen. So again, if I come here to row 3 and I put my cursor here, I'm at A3, and I go to freeze panes right now, it's going to freeze everything above that. So in this case, it's going to freeze row 2 and row 1. So let's go to freeze panes. We have a couple options here. We have freeze top row. We want to freeze the top 2 rows, so freeze top row won't work. Freeze first column. Not too concerned about freezing the first column, which would be column A. In this case, the one that's titled number. Not too concerned about that because I'm just scrolling up and down right now. But here, this top one says, keep rows and columns visible while the rest of the worksheet scrolls. So let's try that one. Notice now it gave us a solid line under row 2. You can really see it a little bit better out here because of the color. But now if I scroll down, notice that rows 1 and 2 will always be there. Okay. So that's extremely useful when you're working on large spreadsheets and you need to make sure that you can see all of the important data, even as you scroll. Okay, let's look at how do we make a column wider. So let's say this column, column C, wasn't quite wide enough, right? We can see that there's a lot of writing here, but it's not quite wide enough. All we need to do to widen the column is come up here in between C and D, click in between C and D, hold, and just move it out to the right. If you want to make sure everything fits, because notice here we still have one that looks like it's getting cut off, you can simply go up between C and D. And when you get the, see how my cursor changes to that black plus sign when I go to the line in between C and D? Once I get that black plus sign, I can double click and it will auto size that column to make sure that any text anywhere in that column will fit on one row. So that's going to save us a lot of time of, oh, does everything fit? What about down to line 3000, etc. So now you're in good shape because you were able to go ahead and just widen the width of that column. We can do the same thing with all these other columns here. If we want to add a little bit more width, a little bit easier to read when you are able to do that. Another thing we can do in Microsoft Excel is we can cut and paste. So let's say we wanted to cut this just as fast track wearables. If you wanted to cut that, you would simply select this cell. Let's go back to the home menu and see up here in the top right, we have a button for cut. And it looks like some scissors right here. Okay. So I'm just going to cut fast track wearables. Notice that it gives you the rotating green dots there. You see those? So that tells you that it has copied or cut, in this case it's cut, that text. And I want to go here and I want to paste it. To paste, there's a couple ways to do it. You can hit Control, you can hold down Control and select V, or we can come up to the menu and we can hit, zoom back out to show it to you, and we can hit the paste button. I want to do that. So notice that when we cut, it took it from here and we pasted it here. Now let's say I wanted to copy fossil. I would do copy here up in the top menu. And then again, it gives me that same rotating green dots. And then I can come here and hit paste. But notice when I copy, it does not move the original. The original stays where it's at, but you can now paste a copy of that. Let's say I wanted to select multiple things. I can still do that function. I can still copy it. It gives me a bigger green rotating box. Let's say I come here and I say I want to paste it right there. And now you can see it just duplicated. It copied this text and then it pasted it down. All right. I'll just hit backwards a few times just to get back my fast track wearables there and didn't want to lose that. So now we've covered how to highlight, how to paste, how to cut. We've covered copying. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's talk about getting ready to print a little bit. So one of the things we can do when we print is we can change the layout of the actual page. So let's go to page layout right now. And we have some options under orientation. So I went to the page layout menu in the top, and then I selected orientation. And see here we have two options. We can do portrait, which means that it would be a skinnier page, but it'd be long, right? Like we normally would read a book. Or we can do like landscape, which would be like a PowerPoint, or maybe a kid's book is in landscape and it has photos, a little bit easier to read, especially when you have photos or you have a lot of data in this case. And so let's go to portrait. Notice when I went to portrait, it gave me these lines. So this line showed up here, this line showed up here. What that's telling me is that when I print, if I printed right now, these are the only two columns, these are the only two columns, A and B, that would be on the first page. The next page would have this column, and then the next page would have this column. So my data would be broken out. So obviously that's not a good experience. Let's maybe go back to orientation and switch it to landscape. A little bit better. Now we have rows A, B, and C on the first page, and these will be on pages after that. Because again, you can see the dotted line here is telling us that this is the only data we will see. So look at it in preview mode to see what it would look like when we print out. If you wanted to get a little bit better look, we can go here to print titles, and we can just simply do print preview. And notice here, it only has column A, B, and C, just like we saw in the spreadsheet. And then as I scroll down, notice here that now I've lost my title bar. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. We have 236 pages, which is a lot, And here, as I scroll down to, let's say, page 134, it gives me just a bunch of extra data. And I don't even know what to do with this right at this point. I have 234 pages. There's no title bar. So this is a little bit of a mess right now because we have not prepared this document for printing. While we are here, though, let's just take a look again. So we're in landscape right now. Let's see what happens when we go to portrait. Look how skinny it gets. Or if we go back to landscape. Okay. If you did want to print, right, even without setting it up, the easy way to print is always you can go to File and hit Print. Okay. If you don't do the formatting we're going to talk about soon, it's not going to look very good. It could come out really choppy or hard to read. So I'm not going to hit print now, but normally, yes, you could come to File and Print, and that's where your items will print out at. So let's go ahead and get this one set up for printing. So the first thing we want to do is notice again, we go to Print Tiles and hit Print Preview. Notice that we over here are, again, if you go down, you don't see the title bar again. So let's make sure we add that at the top of each row. That's the first thing we want to do. So I'm going to click Print Titles. I'm going to go here to Rows to Repeat at the top. And I'm going to select rows 1 and 2. Notice it gives me like a $1, $2. Just going to hit Enter. I'm going to verify, and it says rows to repeat at top. It says $1, $2. That just means rows 1 and 2. And now let's do Print Preview again. And if we scroll down, notice that it keeps the title bar there. So that's good. So that's a good step. We've gotten that done now. The next thing we need to do is we need to tell the computer what area do we want printed. Do we only want these first 16 rows printed? Do we want the entire table printed? And to do that, we are going to do what we call Set Print Area. So notice I selected the first 16 rows, and I go to Set Print Area. So if I go to Print right now, notice that it only gives me those first couple rows because I set the print area to be very small, not printing the whole entire table. Well, let's say we wanted to print the entire table. I would select from up top in column A all the way down. So I'm going to just hold down on my keyboard, Control Shift. I'm going to hit the down button, and it's going to select the entire table. Okay. It did not select this because I didn't want it to, but if I wanted to, I could hold down Shift and go down one more. I just hit the down arrow one time while holding down Shift, and then added that one extra line. And now let's again go to Print Area and Set Print Area. So now the computer knows, oh, he wants to print the entire table. Okay, so let's go back to Print Titles, let's go to Print Preview. Again, if I scroll down, notice it keeps the titles there, but now we're at 296 pages, way too much. How do we get all of these columns onto one page? Because right now it's only giving me 3 columns, and then the other 2 columns are on a different page. So to do that is very easy, actually. We can come here to, I believe it's under margin. Let's see where it is. Let's go to Print Titles, sorry. And then normally we're on the sheet view here. So normally we're on the sheet view. This is where we did rows to repeat at top. But now we want to actually go over to not the header tab, not the margins tab. What I do like about the margins tab is though you can horizontally and vertically center your context. So notice they will put your content right in the middle. So we'll go ahead and do that. But under page here, you can do fit. What does fit do? It says fit one page by something tall, right? So let's try that and see what happens. We did one page by something. Oh, there we go. So what did it do? Now it put all of the columns on one page. So now as I scroll down, notice I have 102 pages, and every page has that nice title bar. All the columns are fitting on my page now because we did what we call scaling. Now, if you look at it over here in this menu, it shows up a little bit different. It says fit all columns on one page. What would happen if we did fit all rows on one page? You get 3,000 rows of data on one page. Don't want to do that. What happens if we say fit sheet on one page? Again, it's going to try and fit all the data that we selected on one page. So we just want all columns on one page. We don't care how many pages it is, but we do at least want all the data from row one to be on row one. We don't want multiple pages to cover row one. So that is how you would set up for printing. Is number one, you need to, of course, do print titles, do rows to repeat at the top, and then we went back and we told it the print area. And then finally we came to page and we said fit all columns onto one page, print preview, and this is what it will look like. So to print from here, you would just hit the print button and it would come out of your printer if it's set up correctly. All right, let's see. If you had this spreadsheet here, just got a few more things to cover and then we'll wrap up. If you have this spreadsheet here and you wanted to save it as something else, right now it's called watches. So if I just go, it's called watches inventory. Let's say you wanted to save it as watches inventory with today's date. You just go to file, save a copy. I'm going to just save it again to the desktop. So we don't need to change any location there. And then I'm going to do watches inventory as of 3/23/23 and hit save. Got it. And let's see, where did my spreadsheet go? So I saved the copy of it. Now it should have placed a new copy of that spreadsheet on my desktop, and here it is. So you can see now this titled watch inventory as of 3/23/23. Hi Chica, how are you? Welcome.
I'm fine, thank you.
Good
Good evening.
Oh boy, we're just going over getting everything ready and going over some review on Microsoft Excel. We'll be wrapping up next week, talking about creating some charts and things. But good to have you here. Thanks for joining.
All right, thank you, sir.
Couple more things here, guys, and then we'll wrap. Let's say you did want to delete a column. Let's say you had a column in here and you just said, you know what, I don't need that. Maybe you don't need the discount column anymore. There's a couple things you can do. You can hide this column or you can just delete it. So over here where you see the E, you could right click that and hit hide. Notice now the letters go from D to F. Where did E go? So if you select D to F, because you know there's something there because you know the alphabet, like where did E go? So you can then right click and do unhide and it'll populate E again. So sometimes you don't want to get rid of E. Maybe you just don't want to see it right now because you don't need to see it. So you can hide, or you can always just right click and you can delete. So both of those options are on the same menu. So again, to do that, you just select the letter. You can do the same thing on a row. If you wanted to just select a different row, you can right click and hit delete, or you can, as you can see here, you can hide it. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's do a formula. I know everybody here loves formulas. We've been working on those a lot. So you guys should be experts at this by now. So how do we, let's see. Let me actually just make up some numbers here. Let's do a quick budget and say January, February, March. Let's right click. Here we're going to say item, and the item is going to be, let's say it's going to be mortgage and food. Let's just say two things. So mortgage is going to be consistent, 2,500. You just tabbing, enter. But your food sometimes is a little bit more hard to budget, isn't it? Some months is 600, another month is 984. It's Christmas, 1,200. Let's go ahead and make that all currency. And let's say I wanted to sum up this column here because I want to see how much I spent in January. You can just come to the row here at the bottom. So put your selector right under those two. And up here we have a button for auto sum. So you go ahead and hit that. And it tells you equals sum B5 to B6. So that is going to add up those two numbers. And if I hit enter, now you have 3,184. So that would be your total budget for the month of January. So instead of redoing that for February and for March, because it's basically the same formula, right? You want to do the same formula with the same two inputs. You can come to where the formula is. Notice in the formula line, you have equals sum. Anytime you see equals at the beginning in the formula line, that tells you that you're about to do a formula, a math formula, right? So multiplication or division, an average or something like that. So right now here we have a formula B5 to B6. I want to apply that same formula to February and March. So instead of rewriting it again, I can just simply come here. Notice when I move my cursor to the bottom right-hand corner of the active cell, I get this black plus sign. You can hold down, so you can left click there and just move to the right too. And as I release, it's going to automatically bring that formula over. Really nice way to not have to write a lot of formulas when you just want to apply that formula to multiple columns. And so notice here now, this one is C5 to C6, and this one B5 to D6. So that's an easy way to use what they call fill and copy. We also just looked at the sum formula. We've been working on range selections. So if they say select cell B5, right, that would be here, to D7 here, we would just click in B5, hold down, and just move over, and you would select. So I normally start top left, work my way down to the bottom right to make my selection, much like most of us read, right? From top left to bottom right. All right, let's say you wanted to sort your sheet. So here we have mortgage and food. Let's say you wanted to organize and put your items. Just going to give a little color here, actually, real quick, make it more easy to see. So these are our kind of our titles and things. Let's go ahead and put budget here. Let's go ahead and center it across, merge and center. Let's make that a little bigger. Let's give it some color. Let's go with that. But here's your actual data that you want to manipulate, right? Because here we want to organize our data and we want to put it in alphabetical order. So normally, right, F comes before M. So to do that, you would select the rows that you want the computer to sort. And then we come data, we can hit sort. It's going to ask you, how do you want to sort? You can say by item and then alphabetical order. So it's going to look at the item column and then it's going to put it in A to Z order. So let's hit OK. And notice that it puts food above mortgage. And it carried the numbers with it, right? Because now mortgage is on the line below, and we see that it carried the numbers with it. So that's a really nice, easy way to sort your information. The last couple things, just to wrap, is we can always, of course, we know we can always hit save here, or we can come and do save as, which we just covered. And then lastly, to close your workbook being, again, it would have multiple sheets, right? So we have multiple sheets. So your workbook is all the sheets combined into this one file. In this particular case, this one's titled Watches Inventory as of 3/23/23. But to close, we would simply come up here to the top right corner and hit the close X, and that closes it. So that is today's class, guys. We covered a lot today. We covered a lot. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the camera here for a second, see if y'all can see me. Let's see, 1 second. Does anybody have any questions? We went over a lot. That was a quick one today. But we covered a lot. I will post this to YouTube tonight. As soon as the video is ready, I'll post it up. And you can use this actually as a review if you like. We do plan on taking the assessments in class starting on Saturday and going into next week. If you do attend our in-person classes, I know Zipporah does, so I'll see Zipporah there. And she's going to be one of our all-stars that's going to ace. She's going to ace the assessment. I have no doubt. Right, Zipporah? I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Does anybody have any questions? It doesn't even have to be just Microsoft Excel related. Just, you know, any questions about anything we've covered in any of the classes?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, when do you put the color on the background, and when do you put the color just on? I think I saw you, like, sometimes you use the paint brush and other times you use the one with colors on, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good question. Let me share my screen again, and I'll just open up the spreadsheet. Let me just open up the one we actually just had open. Here.
Hi, Pastor Tony.
Yes, hi, Pastor Tony. So here, so let's say we wanted to put some color behind the words. So if you
Yes.
wanted to put some words, something behind,
Uh-huh.
the pink bucket is going to just highlight the entire thing.
Okay.
Okay, so the pink bucket will do that. Obviously, the one here is the font color.
Ah, yes, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so that's the color of the text, but then the
Okay.
pink bucket is going to be the background color.
Okay, nice.
Yep. Yep. So that's the paint color. Obviously, increasing, you know, and decreasing font is right there in the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you.